Hi, Jennifer.
Hello, how are you?
Long time no see. No, we just
I
have
know it's been so long.
so long. And I still love you, Eric. I told you.
Oh, yes, I love you too.
So we're going to continue with the discussion of the mindsets in Lori Gibbons' book, The Do-It-Yourself Guide to Conscious Living, Unraveling Your Mindsets in 21 Days. And this is such a fascinating book. You've got to get a copy of it. So today, Jennifer wants to talk about the mindset of expectations because she really feels that that's a super important one. So, Eric, would you like to proceed?
Yes, yeah. So he says, like, as humans, we just have expectations.
Mm-hmm.
We have expectations of how we will behave. We have expectations of how others will behave. We have expectations of how conversations are going to go. We have expectations of our career, our life in general. We have so many expectations. And he said, even if you are somebody who doesn't necessarily have a dysfunctional relationship with expectations, he said you all do it. You all have expectations. And he says expectations set you up to be disappointed.
That's
Um,
true. Yeah, and
yeah.
my husband always says the gap between expectations and reality, he calls that the misery gap. Anyway, I've talked about
Yes.
it before, but why do we have, what's the purpose of expectations? Why did humankind develop this penchant to have expectations?
Okay. So he says that expectations are directly connected to control. They're directly connected, control and expectations. Um, so he said if you are somebody or know somebody who struggles with control issues, they are also somebody who probably has a lot of expectations of themselves and others. There's a real connection between them. It's just part of human nature. It's part of it's part of survival. It's part of our survival because okay, so I have to expect if I'm going to walk into the woods, there's a chance I'm going to be attacked and mauled by an animal. So it does link back to
Oh,
early days of like you kind of have to have
to be
this
prepared.
expectation of yes, if I go into this area, this is where there might be enemies.
Yeah, you have to
Um,
walk through life very prepared, or you're going to be eaten by a bear.
yes. Yes, but so what he's saying is now that, for the most part, humans don't have to live like that, not completely, because there are still some areas in the world that
Yeah,
do have that kind of thing. But if we're talking about, first world kind of countries, we
yeah.
don't need that as a survival skill anymore, but we're not really, it's like hardwired into the DNA.
Well, are there good forms of expectations, like not dysfunctional ones, but functional ones?
Yes, yes. So if you have an expectation of how you are going to be treated in a relationship,
Yeah.
those are good forms of expectations. If you have an expectation of how professionally you behave in a work environment and others behave in a work environment, yes, those are healthy. Now you can't control those and you may be disappointed
Yes.
by, okay, I'm not being treated well, but then you leave.
Ah,
You leave the situation. So those are healthy forms of expectations.
okay.
Um,
Well,
because
let's
they
talk
just
about
kind of set you up for more functional behavior in life.
let's talk about the polar opposite then. Unhealthy expectations.
Yes. So I'm smiling because I know somebody very close to me who I will not mention
Uh-oh.
who has Eric keeps flashing me the image of this person who has expectations down to how events are going to go, like get-togethers for the holidays.
Oh gosh.
Like, but they don't express what they're expecting. They don't express what
Oh,
they want.
surprise.
And then they're disappointed. So
Yes.
if this is very dysfunctional, so if you're somebody who says, okay, well, I'm going here for Thanksgiving and this is what I'm expecting and this is how I'm wanting the day to go, but you don't say anything about it, you're going to be disappointed anytime you go anywhere.
So you need to
Um,
express to whoever you're going to be with, hey, this is how I'm thinking it's going to go down. And
Yes.
that person might say, "Wait a minute, no, I don't want to go to that party in costumes. No, it's
Yes.
not a costume party."
And what happens for people like who have these kind of expectations of everything, is that they set a bar so high that their loved ones can never reach it. So
Yeah.
your children and your spouse will always feel as if no matter what they do, they're not going to please you. Um,
And also
and
expectations. If you have too high expectations of your own self, you're going to get
yes,
disappointed. That causes
yes,
self-loathing, etc. You want to talk
yes,
about
absolutely.
expand on that a little bit, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, somebody may have, and this is the life plan. It's, we all have plans for our lives. We all have ideas of what our life is going to be. And it's almost never happens the way that we think it's going to. So if you have these expectations of, okay, well, I'm going to graduate from college when I'm 22, and by 28 I'm going to be partner in the law firm, and anything less than that is not acceptable, well, you're probably going to be disappointed. It's better to be fluid. Life is fluid.
Hmm.
Like that, your life can change. And so if you can roll with the punches, so to speak, um, you may still be able to reach your goal. It may not look the same way as you had planned it. And that's where it can cause a real problem, is that if you get derailed off of what you thought was going to happen, you may not be able to see that there's 10 other paths that you could take.
Oh my God, that's true. Deepak Chopra
Yep.
talked about how valuable uncertainty is.
Yeah.
If you have your mind set on the goal, then you're not going to see all the cool opportunities that are available to you that may be a lot better for you than what you imagined in the
Yes.
goal. So,
Yep.
just, when
This
God
is
opens the window, he opens the door or whatever. I can't remember how it goes. But yes, so it's okay to be
what Erik is saying. Yeah, yeah, and what he's saying about it right now is that this is kind of this falls in line with stubbornness too, like the control and the stubbornness.
yeah.
So this, if you're somebody with a lot of expectations of yourself or others or whatever, it takes a lot of practice. You have to reach, and this book would probably be a wonderful thing to read, but you have to retrain your thought patterns
Mm,
to get out of that,
yeah.
so that you can see other options. As he says, plenty of time people get derailed off their what they thought was their only path, and they never pick it back up again. I
Oh,
didn't pass the nursing license test the first time, so I'm never going to take it again,
oh
when
God.
they would have passed it the second or third time. you
Oh,
know
yeah. That's a shame.
yep.
So, um, is there a root behind, like, it could be past life, it could be whatever. Is there some root that causes people to be that way, to expect so much, unrealistically, usually, of others and themselves?
Yes. Yeah, so it can definitely come from past lives. um it One of the things that he keeps showing me is that another way that this kind of manifests is from a lot of disappointment in childhood.
Oh,
Um, so if, say, you have a parent who doesn't keep their promises,
oh yeah.
for some reason he says that can manifest the expectations, and that it directly ties in with control.
Mm.
You know, to where it can take it to the extreme. So childhood is very important, and an unpredictable childhood can create this sort of issue.
And maybe childhood neglect, emotional
Yes.
neglect, etc.
Yep.
Oh, could it make it the child grow up to be the opposite, where they don't even try to anything? They don't even want to. They don't even have any expectations for themselves or others.
Yes.
They
Yeah,
give up.
absolutely. And it's funny because Erik says with anything, like if you're raised by an alcoholic parent,
Hmm.
there's a good likelihood that either you'll be an alcoholic or you won't ever drink.
Yeah.
Um, so
Interesting.
he said with any kind of strong personality trait or characteristic,
Mhm.
there's especially with parents or the people who raise you, whomever, because he says it's not always the parents that are raising people,
Right.
but you have the ability, he says, and a lot of times what you'll see is they go to one extreme or the other.
Yeah, it's like if you were abused, you're either going to be abusive to your kids or you're going to like,
Way too lenient.
yes, way
Yep.
too lenient, right? Or at least try to give them a childhood, a fairy tale childhood.
Yes.
Okay, so there's this program, the Soul Happy technique, that's really good. They use hypnosis and all sorts of other things to break up these negative thought bundles that
Hmm.
might stimulate you to become too overly expecting of yourself and others. So you
Yes.
can check that out. Soulhappy.com. SOUL, not SOLE, which is
Yes.
at the bottom of a shoe. Okay, so
Yeah.
how can parents raise their children to not have such high expectations of themselves and others?
So, um, one of the things that Eric is saying is that, like, as a parent, your reaction to something changing, we were planning to go here today, but the car broke down, and so we can't. Like, your reaction in those moments, is a very good way to kind of let children go with the flow a bit more. If you're freaking out over every little change and everything throws you off, that's definitely a way that will help create expectations. Like, okay, I need things to go exactly this way, or there's going to be drama. There's going to be an issue. I mean, honestly, Eric's saying there's no way for everybody to be able to raise, but the people who want to, pay attention to your reaction when stuff doesn't go the way you think it should.
So important. I mean, if the car breaks down, you can't go to the amusement park. So it's okay, kids. Let's go try to look for tadpoles in the street gutters, or
Yes.
let's try to build a fort out of popsicle sticks. I don't know. There's
Yeah.
something to do that the kids see that you are agile in your needs and desires and expectations.
Yeah, he also says don't, so it's like, oh yeah, you know what, it stinks that the car broke down and that we're not going to be able to do what we wanted today, but we'll eventually do it, and this is what we'll do today instead. Not that it's like, a fairy tale, like if you were saying, like a fairy tale, like, oh, it's perfectly fine, this is wonderful. There's got to be the balance of emotion there.
Oh yeah.
And one of the other things that he keeps saying to me is that there are some personality traits that we can have as humans that just are like a heavier energy, and they do set us up more for unhappiness.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. This truly is a very low vibration personality trait.
Is it one of the Enneagram personality types that Dr. Hahn talks about? You guys can look that up. Look up Enneagram on the search bar of the channel, and you could probably find it.
Well, what Eric is saying is that it does fit in there somehow. Yes, it does
Okay.
fit in there somehow.
Mhm.
But it's just, it sets you up for so much disappointment and sadness in your life to where you can fall into a depression.
Whoa.
It's a very low vibration personality characteristic.
Well, I think also if the car breaks down, you can't go to whatever Disneyland, or then
Yeah.
it would be cool to train I don't like the word train, but teach your child how to also be flexible and agile in their expectations by having them choose. Hey, what do you want to do instead? Nothing. I hate you. You
Yes.
can say.
Yes, and that may be what happens, but you still put the energy out there, and you could be absolutely perfect in this regard and still end up with raising a child who has too much expectation, because if it's in the soul chart, it doesn't really matter
Oh yeah,
what you do to try to counteract it. It may just be part of the lesson that soul needs.
that's true. So I remember the story. I probably told it already, but my kids, I used to take them to Astroworld, this amusement park, usually in the summer, so it's so hot, and there's such a long walk from the parking lot, so I never liked to go. But anyway, I promised them, but they were having a real problem, fighting in the back seat of the car, and so I set them up for for failure. I said, okay, let's go to Astroworld. I was, oh yay, yay! Everybody gets in the car, back out of the driveway. But I said, but wait, if there's any bickering, I'm gonna turn around and go home. oh, please, Vicar, please, Vicar, please, Vicar. And so, of course, they would.
Yeah.
That's it. Go home. Learn consequences. So they have to learn how to deal with disappointment. And that means, like Erik and you say, to be more fluid with your forgiving of your expectations. I don't know, just more fluid in life.
Yes. Yeah, and he just said you can have expectations and it not be dysfunctional as long as if your expectations aren't met, you're able to readjust yourself.
There we go.
You know? Yeah, it's okay. You can as long as it doesn't shatter your world.
Yeah. All right. So what happens when a parent puts way too high expectations on a child?
So for the child, it can cause anxiety. It can cause a number of physical issues, stomach issues, panic attacks. It can cause a child who just gives up, just says, you know what, no, I'm just not even going to try because it's never going to be good enough.
Yeah.
It says there's not really a whole lot of good that comes out ultimately of a parent expecting too much from their children. There's really just not any good that can really come out of it.
Yeah, and I think it's society's expectations on people, their idea of success and wealth, and oh, you're not doing well unless you're earning six-figure incomes and things like that, and that makes the parent, maybe is that true? Makes the
Oh
parent
yeah,
impose
that's
these
yeah.
expectations.
Yes, and what Erik is saying is about that is that a lot of times when parents have so many expectations on their children, they need to look at themselves and see how much they care about what others think of them.
And they probably do. The
Yep.
children are like trophies to
A
them.
reflection. Yep, it's a reflection of their success and who they are. So that is a big thing, he says, for the parents who do this. Um, look at how much you care about what other people think about you. And he also says there's when you care a lot about what other people think about you, there is an unrealistic self-worth or importance there, because
Yeah.
he says really for the most part people don't give a shit what anybody else is doing unless
Exactly.
it affects them. He said unless it affects them, people don't really care,
Yeah.
um unless it
Asshole.
affects you. Yeah.
Well, that's true. So you need to look into your heart, and why are you making such demands on your child? Is it for the child or is it for you? And are you aware
Yep.
of the negative repercussions that will come out of that? You've had to pay for years of therapy, is all I'm saying. So
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, and another thing that Erik says about that is that sometimes parents do this because, like, if you have a parent who really struggled in school,
Yeah.
intellectually, they might have really unrealistic expectations of their child because they don't want their child to suffer that same
Oh,
struggle, but you can't prevent that. And all you're doing is creating another challenging situation. If you're having a child struggling in school and you're constantly on them, even if it's because you don't want to see them struggle, well, they're still going to struggle and they're going to have your unrealistic
oh
expectations.
gosh. That's really, really hard because I had difficulty with this too, but it's hard to watch your children struggle. But it's sometimes you just have to let them, because
Yep.
that's probably their spiritual contract. That's probably the life they signed up for. So you got to be real careful about robbing them of the experience that they designed for this incarnation.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
It's hard though. I remember when I had a couple of kids that were going through so much trouble. And I would hate it when my neighbor said, "Oh, so and so got into Cornell, and so and so got into Yale." I'm like, "Oh my God, I hope mine stays out of freaking prison." That sort of thing. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
so I know that feeling. All right,
Yeah.
so just two more real quick things. Now,
Yeah.
a good kind of expectation, could that be something that can be used in the law of attraction? Manifesting, you sort of like, well, no, actually, if you expect something, then you don't have it, right? Then you're
Yeah.
expecting in the future, so the universe is always going to
Yes.
keep it in the future.
Yeah, you
So,
have to with the manifesting, you have to, it's like you already have it.
right.
But you Eric's like, I understand what you're thinking because they're very closely together. Like I'm expecting to be, a millionaire, while I'm trying to manifest it, and people get those confused because they feel very similar in this situation. So
Interesting.
if you are somebody working on manifesting, pay very close attention to this part here. Are you expecting it, or do you feel as though you've already got it?
Yeah, very important. One last
Yep.
question. Expectations everything is an energy, emotions, thoughts, this pen, matter, Einstein would call frozen light. So everything's energy, right? We agree to that. So when you an expectation basically is a very dense energy, right? Really hard to get through. So if you're trying to communicate with a loved one, expectations really going to get in your way. Or if you have a big expectation that like Eric's going to prank or visit you, that's going to be
Yes.
very hard because that energy is so low and dense, and their energy is so high, such a high vibration
Yep.
that they really have to work so hard. Don't make them work so
Yes.
hard.
Yeah, well, and the thing in this instance, when you're talking about connecting to the other side, when having expectations, one of the biggest issues with that is that if you're sitting for a reading and you're expecting this particular loved one to come in and say this particular word or phrase,
Oh God, yes.
you may not even notice the other stuff that comes through.
Yeah.
So you may miss the other signs. If you're expecting this specific thing, you may miss all the other signs and evidence that comes through.
Well, is it hard as a medium if you have a sitter that has huge expectations about something in the reading? Is it hard for that reading to come through clearly because it's so like a big dense wall? Or
Yeah, it can be. And I have personally myself sat in readings before, where I had to just say, I'm sorry, because I will literally feel like the energy's just like it's closed off. I'm closed off to it now. So
yeah.
yeah, it can definitely inhibit a reading.
So how do you go in with an open mind? How? I mean, it's like don't think about a white elephant, or pink elephant. Sorry. So how do
Yeah.
you stop from having these expectations? Sometimes it's just almost like it's
Well,
involuntary. Uh-oh. Frozen.
I,
Okay. Never
yeah,
mind.
I lost you a bit, but
That's okay.
um, if you're somebody who's going to get a reading, just go in there being open to whatever comes through. You can ask questions which may direct the energy in that area. But if you go in looking to connect to one specific person and for whatever reason they don't come through, doesn't mean they're not there. It just means maybe that day they weren't available. But the less expectation you can have of the information you are going to hear, the better. And if you're going into a reading saying, I really want to hear XYZ or I won't believe it, then don't do it.
Yeah, really. That's too
Yeah.
easy to work through. But what about just saying, I'm here at this reading. I am open to whatever spirit thinks I need to know, and that would
Yes.
help me evolve and heal or whatever.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you. Anything else you want to say, Erin?
Just, I love you.
I love you too. Thank you, Jennifer. You can check her
Thank
out at
you.
psychic medium jenniferdoran.com. And is the event in the last week of June, is it up on your website at all?
Um, I'll be very honest with you. I feel as though we've dropped the ball a little bit on it so far. I don't know where it is other than I know it's at like the event you can get it at Ticket Bud.
Okay. Well, Lucas will
Um,
take care of that.
yeah, I'll get it up on my website and Jamie will get it up on his, and it's the last weekend of June.
Okay. And when I get the embed code, I'll put it on, on my
Perfect.
right hand sidebar. But if you need to connect with Lucas and get things going, I think he's concentrating on this May event. And then after that's over, he's going to be.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Nope. It'll be there. It'll be great, and we'll have a really good time.
He'll go in balls to the wall. You know what that
Yes.
means, guys? It's not what you think. It's in airplanes and the World War II, whatever, the little balls on the throttles of the twin engines, crank it all the way to the dashboard, I guess.
Huh.
So now you know. You guys have
Yes.
a dirty mind. All right. See you guys. Love you. Love you, Eric. Love you, Jennifer.
Bye. Love you.
Bye-bye.